we got some sexist comments because I put on the chart man's food. You know, I come from, my age is different than some of your ages. And so some of us come out of a period of time where humans, you could change the name if you want, humans is a reference to both male and female principles. So I find it interesting. There's some people out there, especially females, that are upset when the word man's is used, meaning female or male, meaning humans. You know, it's interesting to me that someone would call me a sexist over that. This one comment, of course, they have fake emails and everything else, but this one lady says, "Hi there, Robert. For years your sexist language has concerned us." Oh, really? Maybe you throw up there, dear one. You know, people like this feel insecure in themselves, and spiritually we all must become whole again. Because in reality, I teach consciousness, and I teach that duality is where the embodiments are. In other words, male and female is simply a part of creation and not a part of who you really are. So for these females they're taking exception for such a simple thing, they lack some degree of spiritual awareness of who they really are, because you're not male or female. That's the real issue here, is that we're only a consciousness having human experiences. And if you get upset because someone uses the word human and you're a female, I don't know what to say about that. I have taught for years that the female principle has been suppressed on this planet. And it has been, sadly enough. There was a time when the feminine principle ruled, and now the male principle rules more. And that's why you see so much war. You know, I've always said the feminine principle is about love and consciousness, and also it is also about the social consciousness, because at one level the female principle is the embodiment of love. Remember duality. Duality simply means that life moves between these two forces, positive and negative. However you wish to view that. Sometimes we view experiences we don't like or words we don't like as negative, and really that's a mental connotation on it. And when you're conscious, you don't have those sort of thinkings, because you're not either male or female. Thank you very much. That's a higher way of looking at it, and understanding that the best way, I suppose, in a cliche kind of way, is that you're a beautiful, bright soul using your bodies to experience creation in. Well, you're male one time, female the next time. All of you play back and forth between the two sexes. And so for this one lady to make these sexist comments that I've been talking sexist, she's just doing that to stir up the pile, because as you all know, I'm definitely for the female principle. I felt strongly that we're way too acidic. And the male principle, of course, is the acid principle. And the acid principle is more the aggressive side of life. There's definitely male females. I wonder what their take is on that, because you have to classify yourself. There's female females, there's female males, there's males. I'm a male female. I was raised more by the female side of my family, so I have more feminine principles than I do male principles. I get along better with females than I do males. But I feel myself neutral. I don't look to one side or another. When I'm writing things up, I don't have sexist ideas and things like that in my mind. That's kind of ridiculous thinking, you know. Man's is simply male and female, the human condition. But we're so touchy, and I suggest those ladies that are touchy out there, get with yourself and become a woman warrior. You know, I've always been for the woman warrior. And there's been a lot of seminars put on for the feminine principle to become stronger and stuff like this. But the female principle isn't an aggressive principle. It's a principle of love and camaraderie. But it's also how you look into the heart of God, you know, looking through the heart of a woman. I've always said when a woman goes cold, that's serious. You know, when you look at a female oncologist, it's just, ooh, it's cold. Any female medical doctor to give any babies or anything chemicals, or particularly chemo, these people are sick and have lost touch with that feminine principle, which is the principle of love and compassion and joy. Males are aggressive. Their job is to go out and get things done, conquer, go. Remember, just because you're in a feminine body doesn't mean you don't have male principles. You've got them wherever they are. You know, some are obvious. You see a lot of male females, and then some of the females are less male, but still have male principles. So, you know, people get torn up with ridiculous things, you know. Here's some of these sexist terms and alternatives. Mankind. You know, that's a little bit much when you get down on mankind. I mean, I think that women have to go out and take their rightful places. And it's hard because the male's suppressing that female principle. In some countries, the female principle is so suppressed, I'm amazed. And with the ISIS community, they even want it even more. So that means poor females in the Middle East, they can't even raise their head up without getting it cut off. I mean, this is the kind of crap that's out there, and I'm sorry, it's not a godly thing. You don't suppress another individual's life, no matter male or female, or your life will be suppressed. This is all karmically driven. So those people that do that will take their rightful place in being the victim. See, so the point here is you have to break this concept of male and female, period. You might be in a female body, but you want to be a God person. You're not, you as consciousness, as awareness, is non-gendered. So, you know, calling other people sexist and calling other people names doesn't get anybody anywhere. If you feel deficient in that, then you need to look at yourself, my dear ones, and claim your divinity. But if you claim your feminine principle, you're losing, because you're so much more than a female. You're just using a female body. You're this magnificent being of light and love and power, each and every one of you. If you don't recognize that, then watch these videos and learn how to get beyond that which limits your perception of yourself. Because each and every one of you I see as these giant, brilliant beings that are just using bodies to experience. One time male, one time female, who cares? Who cares? But we do have a male ruling problem. But this shows you the lack of spirituality. It's a lack of spirituality. All of this is. Because as you go spiritually, you don't have those sort of things. We do have a dominant female principle in our office, by far. It becomes strong, and if you're a female, stand up, because the female is what this planet needs badly. The female principle of love and how you interact with compassion. You know, we need that badly. But we have a power struggle going on with the male principles, and it's disgusting. But I think by far the male is by far the most corrupt side of the species, you know, because it's just, we've dominated the female principle, and that's not what we want. And if you look at life, this is how God is teaching itself and growing. This is all out of all of our hands. This is all God's doing, guys. So it's just how God refines itself and builds itself. But if you'll look, there's a lot more feminine males out there in the world today than your male males. And I've always hoped that that'll infiltrate politics and everything else and give us a sense of a female principle. You want someone, if you want someone to rule you or someone to be over you, then you want someone balanced and spiritually acclimated. So I don't accept these sexist remarks at me, because I think you're trying to stir up trouble, because everyone knows around here, I probably speak of the female love principle more than any male out there, and trying to promote it. I don't know what to say about that. But we have to look at our spirituality and who we are, and start working from these higher perspectives of being non-gender. You know, when you start getting more conscious and more awake, you lose this gender concept. When I have no gender thought in my whole beingness. I don't see myself as a gender. I'm using a human body, but I don't care what gender it is. I'm on a mission, to get this world awake a little more. So I'm going to do that to whatever, because that's my karma and stuff that I'm messing with. So I think we all need to hug each other and love each other, for male or female. But going around calling people names, that's not how you do things. And it does show a lot of people have these inferiority feelings, these females. But I can't blame them, because they've been so suppressed by the male principle. Their pay is lower. I get all that. You know, you got to look a little beyond the little condition of humans, male and females, playing their games. This is creation. These are the illusions of life, not the reality. The reality is you. The reality is behind those eyes, listening and looking at these videos we're doing, not the body sitting there looking. It's the awareness behind that body that you have. That's the infinite part of all of this. And that being behind those eyes are not gendered. You are not gendered in consciousness. You are not gendered as soul. So this whole thing of finding your soulmates and all that, that's always been a concept that some spiritual teachings use, but in reality you are whole within yourself. You only appear to be gendered when you have embodiments. As you get your sukha, as you become awake and whole, these things don't bother you at all, because they're man's failings. Man's being male and female, humans, the Homo sapien. We could start calling everybody Homo sapiens. I find the verbalage problem real touchy for some people. It's like, doesn't need to be. So you ladies that feel insecure, that's within yourself. That's not outside here. You're in a world that tries to make you feel insecure, there's no question. But you have to take your rightful place. You have to start realizing that you're no less or more than anyone else. If you're in a male body, enjoy the male body. If you're in a female body, enjoy the female body. But when you awake and you become non-gendered in consciousness, then it doesn't matter. You can play with whatever you want to play with. Who cares? You know, playing in the playground is the play. You want to get to who's the player in the playground, and that is who you really are. So who are you? That which is observing my conversation and talking? Who is that deep within yourself that is awake, that is listening, that is hearing? And that is consciousness. That is the God part of you. That is the real you. The human experience is on this planet. This is only a grain of sand on the beach of the physical world. There are so many different species and levels. It's unfathomable. But that's the fun of it and the beauty of it. So I don't want you guys to think that I'm some sexist person, but if you want to call me that, you can, just because you're insecure in yourselves. But that's totally a falsity, and someone wants to start trouble. Because so I'll look at that and see if I could change the man's, since there's so many sensitive females. But you sensitive females, you grab a hold of your world, because you're just going to get ran over, and you don't want to be ran over. That's not how you change things. So the females need to come up and become strong and powerful. And the problem is, it's not so much in their nature, because they're the love, passive, principle nature. These aggressive males. And that's what I'm saying. The diet and everything is just feeding the male principle here. And so we have to change that. You can take a male that's very aggressive, put him on a raw food diet, especially with a lot of fruits, berries, and melons, and pretty soon you're going to see a male start to change. But we feed the male principle with the type of diets we recommend. Protein is a male principle, and it incites the male principle. And it's just what you see. I've said this many, many times about having sex and other things, about the consumption of dead animal tissue. The fact that it affects the lower chakras, so the lower energy centers in the human body. Things like this. Well, I like to work up here. I don't like to work down there. You can have fun down there, but you want to work up here in consciousness. But I use man's, and don't get upset with man's. That's just the way I'm raised. Man's is male and female. Man's is human, Homo sapien. And you can start checking off these words and checking off these words. And I've watched this for years and checking off these words. And pretty soon, everybody's tiptoeing through the tulips. They don't want to say anything that pisses somebody off. Get over it, because that is weakness. And this is the whole idea, is to awake. Whether you're in a female embodiment or a male embodiment, who cares? Your sukkah isn't the acceptance from men. Who cares? That's the thing. Who cares if someone likes you or does not like you? Who cares? You must like yourself. You must be strong within yourself. If you let other people dictate your feelings and emotions by their likes and desires, holy moly, that's what's going on. So everybody feels beat up by other people's opinions and ideas. We've got to grow out of that spiritually, because that's trapping you. And even the females and even the males, because I'm sure there's males that feel certain ways. So these things, when you have these kind of feelings, they're traps for you, because they're dealing in creation. They're dealing in the female and male principles, a non-gendered awareness, a consciousness. That's what you want to seek, because even the gender is a trap. You know, identifying yourself as male or female is a trap, and you don't want to be trapped. You use your femininity, use your maleness, who cares? Because that's the game. But at a certain point, it'll be more like cocoon, where the merging of the two will be more light and consciousness as opposed to sexual. And it's just the higher level of being and expressing. And that's where a lot of you guys are moving yourselves. I'm amazed at how many of you have awoke, have understood the mind is the trap, and that you've broken free of thought, and now you're in the eternalness of consciousness, of awareness. It's an immense energetic experience, to say the least. We've got a lot going on here, and a lot of people are working and getting their remedy, and some of you that are suffering, some of you that can't seem to do the diet, stop and think what's important to your experience on this planet. Your need, or your feeling like you have to have your meat and potatoes or your bad food and enjoy your suffering? Or do you want to work out your suffering, get it out, and just change your mind? This is all about just changing the way you perceive life, and you control that. You know, when you're a mind writer, society controls that. Your educational system controls that. Your religious belief systems control how you see and view life. That's what's going on in the female-male principle. Step higher. Step outside of that into pure consciousness. You know, where you're neither one. And none of these things bother you here, and your joy and your experience is so much more, even while you're embodied here, while you have a male or female body. But you want to work yourself out of hell, Bill, if your body's suffering, because if your vehicle is dragging you down as soul, then your experience as soul isn't a fun one either. It's hard to be conscious with a body full of pain. And that's why you have to get out of that. You know, get rid of that male principle protein and put it to the side. Because that's the aggressive side of chemistry. That's the acid side of chemistry. That's the male side of chemistry. And if you want to enjoy the female love side of chemistry, get in your fruits, berries, and melons. They're really good.